ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, April 10th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. My name is Paul Swann. For the next hour, I'll be here taking your phone calls and texts. Let's open up that text line this hour. Let's get that started. 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. I'll get you caught up on everything that happened over the weekend for the Thundering Herd. We got to start with basketball, though. Before we go any further, we have to jump into where did Micah Handlogten go? Well, we've been following this over the last few days. He had several SEC schools interested in him, and on Twitter today, the announcement was made that the former 7'1" center for the Thundering Herd has signed with Florida. So Florida getting the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year. And just as a refresher, you know what he did. He started all 32 games as a freshman at Marshall, ranked 11th in the nation with 2.3 block shots per game, 16th in the country with 9.8 rebounds per game, and also averaged 7.6 points a game. Managed 1.3 steals and 1.2 assists per contest, and he shot 662 from the field. So Micah Handlogten going to Florida. You think that's a good fit for him? I mean, I'm sure many of you don't care because he left Marshall and he found his way to Florida, but we've seen a player before leave Marshall and find his way to Florida. Anybody remember Jason Williams? Of course you do. So the Marshall to Florida pipeline has reopened. Usually it's a Florida to Marshall pipeline as far as some of the recruits that used to come into Huntington when Doc Holliday was leading the charge, recruiting heavily into Florida. Well, the Florida Marshall pipeline, whatever way it's going, back in action here. Some other basketball news. This is really more of a note. The league sent this out today. I found it interesting. The best, most improved. That's probably the better way to say that. Most improved men's basketball teams in the country. And Marshall was on the list, tied for third with a win average of 12.5. So Marshall in the good, 12.5. Southern Miss plus 18. Most improved men's basketball team in the country. FAU, second most improved men's basketball team in the country with 13.5. They're plus 13.5. So Marshall was tied with Charleston, Duquesne, and Northwestern State. But just a kind of interesting note coming out of basketball today. I was going to save it for later, but since we're talking basketball now with Micah Handlogten leaving and now finding his way in Florida, it's a nice landing spot, isn't it? You get to compete in the SEC, you get to go to Florida. It's not a bad spot. Not a bad spot whatsoever. So hopefully we'll see some movement with the Thundering Herd. I know Dan D'Antoni was talking to Bill Cornwell, who was at the awards banquet on Saturday. He went and spoke with Dan, and Dan's pretty happy with the core group he has. Not afraid to look at the transfer portal. He was clear when he spoke with Bill. Bill said he's looking at the transfer portal. They're going to look at any and all available options to them. I think let me pull up because Billy sent me the quote. He said, "We're working both the portal and looking at any high school kids still looking to sign. We're keeping all of our options open, but we have a good core group coming back next year, and I'm excited to coach them." So that's what Bill told me that Dan said. We're working both the portal and looking at any high school kid still looking to sign. So hopefully we'll see some movement soon. I would like to see some exciting names come through the portal to Marshall too. I would think the fans would. Wouldn't you? You want to see, that's what you want to see. You want to see Marshall come up with, it's sort of like free agency for college basketball. That's what it really is. It's free agency for college basketball. Player announces intentions to leave, and all of a sudden, hey, can Marshall get that player? That player fit Marshall. Can Marshall go get that kid? That's what this has become. The portal has become free agency for college. I mean, I like free agency except when my team loses and can't replenish, but I like free agency. It's sort of like it's not like a draft, but it's sort of okay, hey, there's a game piece over there that, what if we could add that piece to our, yeah, that's what that feels like to me. Speaking of transfer portal, we're going to hear from Coach Huff a little bit later on, by the way. Speaking of transfer portal, Marshall football wide receiver E.J. Horton making the announcement over the weekend on Twitter, planning to enter the May transfer portal. If you don't remember Horton, he caught 12 balls for 186 yards and a touchdown last fall for the Thundering Herd. I had some high hopes for him, but he is making it known he's going to be putting his name into the May transfer portal. And again, really, this is going to be the fun part of college athletics. You'll see what you have. You'll find out if anyone's wanting to leave. And this will be after spring ball, I'm sure, if not sooner. You'll find out quick. Players are going to stick with you, players that are looking elsewhere. And then you'll see the transfer portal open up. Feel good about your quarterback position, you'll be all right. Don't feel good about your quarterback position, there'll be a lot of backup quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Absolutely. If you need a quarterback and you're still concerned about your quarterback position, there'll be plenty to be had in the transfer portal once all spring ball is done. Either not getting playing time soon enough, you got bench for an up-and-comer, whatever the reason may be. So the portal is going to really get hot here in the next few weeks. Speaking of football, we're going to get you caught up. Coach Huff, get his thoughts from Saturday. We'll do that. We'll also give you an opportunity to jump in. 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. And as I mentioned, I'll get you caught up on some of the things that happened over the weekend. Softball streak came to an end. That was disappointing. Not because of anything the team did, just because I wanted to see that streak go further and further and further. I mean, the Herd's 33-4, 9-1 in Sunbelt play. That's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. Louisiana's on top in the standing. I think they're 10-1 right now. So, by virtue of having one more game played, I don't think that's not gonna last long. Marshall will be back on top soon. I mean, 33-4, outstanding. And they had to lose one soon, right? You knew that they had to lose one. Just a law of averages. You had to lose a game. You don't want them to, and I don't think that they all of a sudden just forgot to play softball. It's just one game, they couldn't overcome everything. They're 33-4, so good showing so far from the softball team. But we'll get you caught up on everything and hear from you. And again, let me give you that number one more time, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So now that you've got that, hopefully you program it into your phone, and you'll be able to text me anytime during the show. We'll hear from Coach Huff when we continue. We'll catch you up on everything going on. We'll hear from you. How do you feel about Florida now as the landing spot of Micah Handlogten? You think that he made the right decision? I mean, there were several SEC schools looking at his services, and he ends up going to be playing for the Gators. Is that a good spot for him? I mean, hey, the good news is if you're Micah, you get to play in the SEC, one of the best basketball conferences in the country. You get to play. He'll get to play Kentucky, right? Right? You get to play Kentucky. I mean, what's better than playing for Kentucky? Maybe playing against Kentucky, maybe? So I'm excited for him. Hated to see him go. Pretty good kid. Freshman of the year, you can't deny he had an impact his freshman year, and he decided to take those talents elsewhere, and I can't blame him. You know, there's a lot of opportunities, and again, the transfer portal allows that. And as I always say, the transfer portal giveth, the transfer portal taketh. It gives and it takes. It is there is no reason or rhyme to it, but it gives and it takes. It is not. I don't think it. I don't think it gives and gives and gives and doesn't exact the penalty. I think it gives and it takes, and there's nothing said about it. One day the portal is your friend, the next day it is not. And it was not Marshall's friend when Micah Handlogten entered into the portal. So we'll get your text in. More coming up, including Coach Huff. We'll hear from him on the state of Marshall football at this very moment when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Monday, April 10th edition. The Drive is ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. My name is Paul Swann. Text line is open for you. We'll do that now. 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. Coming up on the program tomorrow, I have a special guest that we will announce closer to tomorrow's show. Also a special guest, but I'll announce him now. Luke Creasy is going to check in with me tomorrow, get us caught up on what's been happening. He has been covering Marshall spring practice for HD Media, so he has been on the ground every single day, and he's going to join me on the program tomorrow to get us all caught up on what's been happening, and appreciate him, of course. Luke, a good friend of the program, always there with a helping hand, like with today's segment. Coach Huff spoke to the media on Saturday after spring practice, and one of the first things he was asked was about the progress of his team since the start of the spring practice sessions.
You know, I think what we're starting to see more guys operate the defense, offense, and special teams. And that's the big thing. You know, you want to see improvement. Obviously, there's some things that we got to get cleaned up with the details, but you're starting to see the ones and the twos go out and kind of operate. And that's kind of meaning we're getting there. Obviously, you know, the whole game plan and the whole playbook is not in, but what we have in, you're starting to see more guys be able to operate it, which is a positive. Now, you know, you go into the second week, now you're really putting in the back end, the situational stuff. But overall, the first week of kind of base install, I feel really good about where we are. There's some inconsistencies, but they're less than the more consistent, if that makes sense. You know, we don't have as many, you know, 3 or 4 play lapses. We got more 1s and 2s play lapses. So we're getting there. I'm pleased with where we are. Obviously, we're not satisfied, but pleased with where we are for week 2.
Hey, that's a good place to end. He's pleased for where they're at right now. You can't be satisfied. I think you can be, to a degree, satisfied, but I think pleased is probably a better reaction, only because you're hoping that every time you get out there, the team gets better. You're hoping that every time that players are on the field, they are moving forward. So I'll take pleased right now. So he's pleased. Hopefully that's going to show up later down the line when the season begins. So one of the things that Coach talked about in the media scrum on Saturday was just how his defense has been building off of the foundation of the previous season. And I think you're going to see that more and more now that you've got a foundation, now that you've got players that have gone through it. I mean, coaches will come and go, but if everything is still in place as far as the foundation, I mean, Marshall football should be Marshall football from season to season. And he talked about how his defense has been building off of that foundation, which has been set over those previous seasons.
Yeah, I think it helps because they can kind of translate some of the similarities to things that we did last year. And then they're able to kind of, dive into and dissect the differences, and the beauty of it is they're not starting from square one on defense. You're kind of like in level 200, you know what I mean? So you've taken English 101 and now you're taking English 200, which is good because you've got some type of base, some type of foundation. A lot of the things now is we're adding, adjustments or variations off of what we did really well last year, which I think is going to be good, right? No team is just going to line up and expect us to do the same thing or not be able to game plan against where we were good. So we've got to have some variations that look similar. We've also got to be able to do what we did last year, which was play fundamental football. So while you're still adding, and I think Coach Seymour's done a really good job of not overloading the fundamental part of it, with the schematic part. Sometimes when you got a really good defense and older guys, you get so play happy that you don't really dive into still coaching the fundamentals, and he's done a good job of that.
So the obvious question that always gets asked, I've asked it before, others have asked it, with practice wrapping up on Saturday, the question came up, who stood out to you?
Yeah, I think offense came out ready to play today, which, is usually the opposite in the first scrimmages. They came out with really good tempo. They started fast. Maurice Jones did some really good things today. I think when you start tackling, you really give the offense a little bit more advantage because obviously you got to bring them on the ground. But Maurice Jones broke some tackles, went the distance. A.J. Turner did some good things, in the running back room. I thought Cam, again, managed, the offense well. The things he was seeing were good. Offensive line-wise, it's usually a sack fest in practice because they got to run by the quarterback. But today they had to contain him a little bit, and they played a little bit more consistent. And then, which is good, I thought the defense kind of settled in on the back half, which we got to figure out a way to start fast both ways. But they kind of settled in and said, okay, well, you guys came to play, so do we. So overall, pretty good. Offensively, probably jumped out today just because of the fast start.
So high praise for the offense. I've seen some on social media kind of question the offense. Coach Huff saying that offense is looking good. So as a follow-up to that question, Coach Huff expanded a little bit more. Always when you have new players on the field for the first time, you're kind of excited to see what they can do, and you're hoping that they can make immediate impact. So Coach expanded on that a little bit. He went a little long. Usually we try to cut that stuff up a little bit, just trying to get the essence of what he said. But I thought this would be okay this time, just to hear him out fully as far as he expands on some of the newcomers that are standing out to him.
Yeah, DeMarcus Harris at the wideout position, just because he's an older guy. You can tell he goes about his business the right way. He's kind of like Mr. Serious. I mean, he doesn't smile, he doesn't joke, he just comes out and works. The O-line wise, we got some young guys who played last year. Tariq, Montgomery, Jalen Slappy, Willis has come in and done a really good job. CK is learning the American way. We always joke with him. It's a little bit faster than it is in junior college. He's picking things up pretty good. Luke Soto, was kind of limited in the fourth quarter program, but he's kind of starting to come around at the tight end position. I think we got some flexibility in that position. Some guys can do different things. Defensively, Mike Green has done a phenomenal job. He's come in and really improved the competitiveness of that position. McCracken's done a good job inside, a bigger guy who's played a lot of football. Keyshawn, has done a good job at the linebacker position. And you're talking new guys, so you're kind of saying, okay, well, one, what can they physically do? And then two, what can they handle mentally? And all these guys have handled the mental part. I think Jaden Yates has come in and done a really good job for a freshman. He's still got a ways to go. I don't want everybody to go buy his dad's jersey again, but he's come in with the right mentality. You know, he still makes a ton of mistakes, but he can tell you the mistake he made. You know what I mean? And that's what you're looking for from those younger guys. And then in the back end, I think, you know, J.J. Roberts obviously has played this game at a high level. If he's not leading the team in interceptions, he's dang close, you know, in practice. I think him and Cam or him and, you know, some of the quarterbacks have got like a deal like, hey, when you're in, I'll throw you a pick, you know, and then, you know, when they give you pub, you retweet my retweet. But he's done a really good job. You can see he plays the game cerebrally. It makes sense to him. Ishmael, you know, their kid from Texas at corners come in. He's really probably up the physicality at the corner spot. Probably sometimes a little too much, but definitely you can tell he plays with a little edge. So those guys have done some really good things. You know, now what we're trying to figure out is, okay, you know, who does what well. You know, we've been moving guys around, so Ish has played some star, he's played some safety, he's played some corner. Same thing with JJ. You know, now we'll go back and we'll evaluate now, okay, we're 2 weeks in, midterm grades. Okay, who does what well? What don't they do well? Let's keep them out of that position and let's start refining their you know, things they do well so we can get a little bit of rhythm and continuity going into the summer and then build off.
By the way, that was 2 minutes and 39 seconds. 2 minutes and 39 seconds to answer that question. Coach Huff talking about the newcomers that have impacted so far, or at least have made an impression upon him. One of the questions that was asked on Saturday of Coach, we all want to know, where is the team now in relation to just being ready for the season? I know they're not ready to go out and play just yet, but where is this team now?
Yeah, well, the first thing is you want to be healthy. You know, you want to make sure that you got, you know, your guys, you know, healthy. And we're there. We're pretty good with where we are. We're doing a good job. I think the coach is doing a good job of pitch counting guys who've played a lot of reps, but also getting them the work that they need for the new schemes on both sides of the ball. When you put, you know, you're talking transfer portal and high school guys and guys coming in and out, when you start putting new guys in, even though the systems are the same, like on offense, the system's the same, but we're putting new guys in. I'm pleased with where they are from a conceptual understanding standpoint on offense. Like, you're not having, you know, guys not know what to do. I'm talking more of the new guys. And I think we're starting to see, you know, the quarterbacks start to operate a little bit. You know, that's going to be a big question. You know, what does that room look like a year later? You're starting to see a little bit more consistency. Some of the mistakes they make sense. You know, it's not like, you know, the old, you know, elementary kid, what are you doing anymore? You know, it's starting to say, hey, it makes sense, okay? And then from there, you hope that you can continue to build upon it. You know what I mean? Build upon the consistency, build upon the installs, because we still got some things to put in. And then you hope that they don't hit that wall. You know what I mean? You know, we kind of installed slow so we could kind of see what they could do. And you hope these next couple of weeks you're still able to kind of move forward.
And that's Coach Huff talking about where this team is at this point of the spring and heading towards the season. Coach mentioned, of course, new players coming in, new recruits, transfer portal. Texter writes in and says, transfers, NIL money, gambling money, the college game has changed in a bad way. That's going to be something that we'll struggle with for some time to come, because name, image, and likeness, in my mind, was a way for a student athlete to take advantage of opportunities. Not necessarily, let's shop around and see where I can get the best name, image, and likeness money. But, okay, I'm successful. I'm here. I'm the starting quarterback for Marshall University. And I don't have lunch money. Well, I can go out and I can capitalize on me being the starting quarterback at Marshall University, and I can put myself in a situation where, you know, I can make some money, right? I can do some things here. Yeah, maybe I want to do stand-up comedy. I'm the starting quarterback at Marshall University, and I want to do stand-up comedy. So I can go out and you can leverage a little bit that, you know, I'm the top dog at Marshall. I can go do stand-up comedy, get paid for that, right? Am I too naive? Am I being naive on this? First of all, I would pay to see maybe Cole Pennington or a Cam Fancher do stand-up comedy. I would pay for that show. But am I being a little naive thinking, hey, you know what? I want to go out and do some extra things, and, you know, I got an opportunity here because, well, I'm known, and I can capitalize on that a little bit. Now it's, okay, let's go out and let's offer high talented prospects money, right? Hey, what are my NIL opportunities? I mean, you're hearing that more and more now out of kids. What kind of NIL opportunities will I have if I come to Marshall University? Not, hey, what does Marshall University offer as far as this, and this? It's, hey, coach, what kind of NIL opportunities are there for me if I come to play for you? That's going to be in the conversation, and you're going to have a serious response back. No longer is it, oh, you have great facilities. Oh, that's great. I would love to play here. You have a wonderful campus. Oh, man, that would be great. You have the program that I want to study in. Yeah, those are going to be factors for sure. But again, it's, hey, how do I get paid? If I come, all those things are great. How do I get paid? All right, let's go back to the text line before we hit the break. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Over, under. The Herd averaging 160 yards of passing offense this coming season. I'm going to you know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I'll take the over. All right, let's hold me to that. 160 yards of passing, over, under. I'm going to take the over. Where do you take that number to? You take the over on that, or you take the under? I'll take the over. Go ahead, put me down. Averaging 160 yards passing offense this coming season, I'm going to take the over. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is going to come up again. That's all right. I'll squirrel this one away. More coming up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Monday, April 10th edition. This is The Drive. It's ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann, with my text line open. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. The text line is still hopping, so let's go back to it. Texter writes in and says, I am naive, but I can see, don't take old fans for granted. I don't think anyone's taking old fans for granted. I think they're the bedrock of this program right now. I don't think anyone is taking anyone for granted. I had a texter just write in a few minutes ago and say over under the Herd averaging 160 yards passing offense this coming season. I'm taking the over. And I think that the Herd will easily amass more than 160 yards of passing. And you get the quarterback situation taken care of, and then you look at the wide receiver core, and that makes a great jumping point for our next soundbite from Coach Huff. He talked about the growth of his wide receiver core.
Yeah, I think the young guys have taken a huge step. Coach Bodin's done a really good job, and I'm talking the Coombs, DeMarcus Harris, Brian Robinson's done a really good job. Obviously, you got Charles Montgomery and Caleb McMillan who've played a lot, but the young guys are really stepping up, and you're starting to see consistency. You hate to say it, but there's not as many drops in practice as there used to be. You think that would be your receiver. You think you'd be able to catch, but when you go 220 some odd plays of practice, there's usually a bunch of drops, and we haven't had that. So I think again the competition level's going up because guys are looking around the room and saying, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, they're going to play him. And that's part of building the program the right way. The only way to motivate these guys is competition and playing time. So you got to have competition to say, hey, if you don't do it, he'll do it. And I think we got that now in the receiver room.
So over under 160 yards. Come on. 160. Come on. Right now, I am remembering this. I'm writing it down. 160. Over, under. I'm just going to put that on my show notes every single day. So I remember come season, we are going to bring that up again. Over, under. 160. I'm taking over all the way. Text lines 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Coach Huff speaking to the media on Saturday. Speaking of the offensive side of the ball, one player that there will be interest in replacing is Devin Miller. And Coach talked a little bit about replacing a guy like Devin Miller with what's in the tight end room.
Yeah, Devin was kind of your security blanket, right? He was the kind of guy you could leave in and call any play, and he was going to do it well. May not be great, but he's going to do it well. Now we're in a situation where we've got some specialty guys. When you're talking in the pass game, you got some guys who do a really good job in the pass game. When you're talking running the ball, you got some guys who specialize in that. Now, obviously, we don't want to get into a situation where every time we pass it, we want this guy in, run it, we want that guy in. But what we'll be able to do is really kind of specialize certain guys. And then I think, Toby's probably a little bit of Devin, where he can do a little bit of everything well. He's still learning, but I think that's one thing that he's probably kind of the Swiss Army knife in that group. And then obviously Luke's done some really good things, in the run game. And then Salas, he's a big vertical threat down the field. And then Ramaj played, college football before. So I think what you're going to see is going to be different. We're not going to have one tight end that's just always out there. It's going to kind of be, by committee. And then we'll have to do a good job of coaches as taking away what tendencies, we have when certain guys are in to kind of use that to our advantage.
Coach Huff speaking to the media on Saturday. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we'll hear from Luke Creasy from HD Media. He has been covering the Herd all spring long. We'll get his thoughts, see where he stands. 160 passing yards, over or under? We'll see where he stands. We'll get him on the record. That's just going to be my question for everybody for now until the end of the season. 160, over or under on passing yards. We'll see where everybody stands. More coming up, including your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
It's our final segment of The Drive for this Monday. I'm your host, Paul Swann, here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We still got time for a few more texts. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. As with most things, when we have a question come up, I leave it to you on Twitter. I just put the poll up. Marshall averaging 160 yards of passing this upcoming season. What says you? So far, it's a 50-50 on the poll. It's early. I leave that up for a day. You can go find it on Twitter. I'm at Paul Swann. 50% say, oh, no, it's changed now, as more of you are starting to vote. It's 66.7% saying over, 33.3% of you say under. This thing is going to last for a day. I'll give you opportunity to really hammer that. It keeps fluctuating, so it's going to be fun to watch that one. I can't say under 160. I can't do that. Clint Trickett's my guy. I can't, and I'll say that right now. Clint Trickett's my guy. And I got faith in my guy. 160, easy. Trickett's my guy. Definitely not going to take the under on him. No, sir. Let's get you caught up on what happened over the weekend. It's not bad news, but it's bad news. Marshall's soccer team lost. The men lost to Louisville in College Spring League exhibition play on it was Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? I've lost track of the weekend, just to give you the heads up here. So the Herd loses to Louisville in College Spring League exhibition play, 2-0. So they're going to play this week in Columbus for third place. Coach loves to win those trophies. Coach loves winning those trophies. So, unfortunately, the Herd did not beat Louisville. That's okay. At least they have the opportunity to play once again. But again, you know how Coach is. He loves to play in championships. So that was on Saturday. Softball team won its fourth consecutive Sun Belt Series with a doubleheader split on Saturday. Herd's now 33-4, 9-1 in the Sun Belt, tied atop for the league lead at the moment. Then Louisiana's got a game on them, only because they've played one more game. So the Herd's still looking pretty good though. It had to happen. They had to lose one eventually. And then baseball dropped the series final to Louisiana on Saturday at Go-Mart Ballpark. The Herd now will face off against the Bobcats. That's coming up on Tuesday. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. And then tennis is doing pretty good so far. Tennis swept South Alabama. They played on Sunday, and that was the final home duel of the season. The Herd's now 13-6. They're 7-2 in Sun Belt play. South Alabama's 14-5, 4-4 in league action. So the Herd is 7-2 in Sun Belt play. How about that? You know, when we said softball might be the team that gets that first team championship, I think John Mercer heard me and is making sure that tennis might be the first sport to win that team championship. It's pretty close right now. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to change my my answer to which Marshall team won the first Sun Belt Conference championship. I think my answer might be tennis. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So either way, I can't go wrong either way. I've got a good feeling about tennis, and I get a good feeling about softball. Honestly, it could go either way. To be, you know, what would be great what if they both won team championships? Then it wouldn't matter if I picked wrong. If I pick softball, then tennis and softball both win, it won't matter. We'll see. The poll question is starting to pick up some steam on Twitter at Paul Swann. Over under on Marshall averaging 160 yards of passing this upcoming season. Right now, it fluctuates. It keeps fluctuating. The over is winning barely. 55.6% say over. 44.4% say under. This thing is going to change throughout the night. You can find that on Twitter. It is at Paul Swann. And that's going to do it for this edition. Back in the saddle again. Glad to get this one out of the way. We got the rest of the week to do now. And tomorrow, I will have Luke Creasy from HD Media. He'll give us his thoughts and impressions of spring ball so far. And a little bit closer to airtime, if you follow me on Twitter, I got a guest coming on tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about the guest. So I'll leave you with that. I'm excited about having this guest on. It's Marshall related. I'll give you a hint. It's not Christian Spears, but I'm still excited about this guest. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate everyone more than you know. Thank you.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington. This is your radio home for Pittsburgh Pirates baseball, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.